Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome. You're listening to Perfectly Healthy and Toned Radio with your host, Darren PhatMan McDuffie. And now, prepare to get fat. Hey, what's cracking? Welcome to another episode of Perfectly Healthy and Toned Radio, brought to you by I'mTheFhatMan.com, and I'm your host, Darren McDuffie. Tonight, we got a power-packed show for you. We will be discussing rich food, poor food with Jason and Mira Calton from Calton Nutrition. This is actually the Food Bible, and I'm glad that they came on and kind of talk about the book, because a lot of times what will happen is people will ask me about what's good to eat, what can I find at the supermarket, and this book kind of answers all of those questions, so we'll have them on tonight. But before we get them on, just some little housekeeping. If you have not joined me on Facebook, please do so. My Facebook page is I'm the Fat Man, facebook.com/I'm the Fat Man. And also on Twitter, I'm on Twitter at @thefat_man. If you have any questions during the show, you can call into the show at 646-716-9371, 646-716-9371, and hit 1 on the switchboard, and I'll know that you have a question, and I'll bring you on to ask your question. So before I bring them on again, next week, tonight, again, very great show, but next week we'll be talking about diabetes. I'll actually have Kristen Major on. She's a holistic nutritionist who's very adept at talking about diabetes. So if you know anyone out there who might be suffering from diabetes, she knows how to treat diabetes naturally, so she will be on the show. So let's get into the show tonight, Rich Food, Poor Food with the Caltons. And I believe I see them on my switchboard, so let me bring them on. Jason and Mira, is that you?
It is.
Hey, Darren, how are you?
I'm doing awesome, man. How are you guys? And Gab?
Oh, we're doing well down here in Florida. It's just, another day of work, and we're excited to be back and talking to you.
Good. I think Diana's going to call in a little bit later. She's working on a workshop, and I think she had some more questions for you. So I think she's going to call in later. She texted me and said she would. So
she's actually been taking the book on grocery store expeditions with some of her clients, and that's kind of fun to hear somebody else taking it to the grocery store and teaching people how to shop with it. It's just what we wanted.
Yeah, because actually this is a really good thing. I wish I had this when I started, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But, I mean, I had to find out all of this stuff out by myself. And now with a lot of people, they usually come up to me and they ask, well, what's good to eat? Or they're sending me messages through Facebook. So tonight I'm hoping that you can answer all those questions for them.
We'll try. Absolutely. There's a lot of products in the grocery store. I think we know most of them.
Yeah, it's like everything was in here. I finally got through the book, and it's like everything was in here that anyone could ever ask for. So before we get started, I know you guys have some interesting adventures. There's a real romantic story about how you guys got together. So tell us that story before we get into the book.
Sure. I mean, it didn't start off so very exciting, actually. It started off kind of depressing. I was diagnosed with advanced osteoporosis at the age of 30. So literally, when I was 30, I was not getting off of my sofa. I was spending my days with my computer and my laptop just lying across me, unable to get up and even do my job. And I didn't want to really face the fact that I was obviously very ill. And I finally went to the doctor, and they told me I had the bone density of an 80-year-old. Mm-hmm. And at that point, I was devastated. And I went to what most people go through, which is the why me, poor me. And then I, slapped myself a couple times. And I said, okay, this is not going to be my life. I'm not going to be the girl that they said I'm going to be. I had to leave New York City. I had to live with my sister on her, at her house, and have someone take care of me. And I was like, I have to figure out what I can do to cure myself, because no one's going to do it for me. The doctors gave me, absolutely no help other than you can take some medication and be on the medications for the rest of your life, and hopefully it won't get worse. And I was just like, okay, I got to do some research. And luckily, I really enjoy research. And when you're not feeling well, research is one of the things you can do because you don't have to move around. So I just started looking at the only other things that I knew about osteoporosis, which was basically calcium you needed calcium. I found that out pretty quickly, and then I started looking at calcium, and they said, okay, well, if you're taking calcium, you need to take magnesium, and then you need to take vitamin D, and I was like, wait a minute. What are these things that they're telling me about? I don't even know what is this all about? And then I realized they were all micronutrients or vitamins and minerals that my body just hadn't been getting for such a long period of time that it made me sick. But I didn't know enough at that point because I wasn't yet a nutritionist. So I was like, okay, well, I need to get some help with this. And I wandered into a doctor of nutrition's office. And actually, it's kind of a funny story. He wasn't there at the time, but I decided to make myself more comfortable at his desk. So when he actually came in the office, I had my feet up on his desk.
This is Jason?
This is Jason. This was his first introduction. I've only told the story here for you, Darren. Literally, when he first met me, I was waiting in his office with my feet on his desk because I was in pain. I was just like, I'm just going to make myself comfortable. And he helped me to research micronutrients. He thought, who the heck is this girl in my office, first of all? And I'll let him tell a little bit about the story.
Yeah, so that was kind of a shock. Here I walk into the office, and there's this woman sitting behind my desk with her feet up there, and as soon as I kind of got over that shock, then we really started to settle in, and she started to share her story with me. And, of course, I was intrigued. And it was a real turning point in my life as well, Darren, because, up until that point, I had been working with people and helping them to try to understand nutrition from the way I think a lot of people get introduced to nutrition, and that's through diet, through the foods that we eat, right? So we know these terms like calories and carbohydrates and fats and proteins, and there's a lot of people that want to talk to you all about those things. And they're important, and certainly they have their place in nutrition. But Mira didn't need any of that. She didn't need me to talk to her about any of her, it wasn't that she wasn't eating enough calories or her carbs, fats, or proteins were necessarily off. What she needed was a discussion about what we're going to talk a lot about, what we talk about all the time, which are micronutrients. And this really became a passion for us, really to look at these things called vitamins, minerals, essential fatty acids, and amino acids. That's what the micronutrients are. And so we needed to go and really kind of play detective in Mira's life and find out what was she doing, what had she done to get to these 80-year-old bones at the age of 30. And I think that's really what made us look at the micronutrients, and it also made us look at the food quality issue. And we're going to talk a lot about food quality tonight because that's what Rich Food, Poor Food is about. We've got 2 books, as you know. We have Naked Calories, which was our first book, and that talks all about micronutrients and everything you ever want to know about how to become sufficient in those micronutrients so you can prevent and reverse disease. And then we later on wrote our second book, which is what we're going to talk about tonight, Rich Food, Poor Food. And it's so important because it's all about the food quality, and it's about the different foods that Mira was eating that actually caused her to get the advanced osteoporosis. And some of those foods, we'll go over some of them later on tonight, but some of those foods aren't necessarily foods you may think would be unhealthy. A lot of those foods would be, I think most of the people listening right now would be thinking, wow, she was eating a really healthy diet.
Yeah. Just tell us something, and I didn't even know this until when we did the other podcast a couple of weeks ago. I didn't